Mr. Harris here, and welcome back to another video of Unit 10. In this video, we're going to do some questions together, and we'll do a quick summary of what we've learned so far. So in the previous two videos, we've talked about how we could extract metals. So we can extract them by heating their ores. This is for metals that are unreactive or have low reactivity. We could also heat the metals with carbon or carbon monoxide. This is for metals that are moderately reactive. And finally, we also talked about electrolysis, and this is for metals that are highly reactive. So in this slide, I also want to introduce to you the names of the ores. For example, we have mercury 2 sulfide over here. The name of this ore is cinnabar. So as chemistry students, we not only should know the chemical names, we should also know the names that layman people would know. For iron 3 oxide, another common name is haematite. For bauxite, this is the ore for extracting aluminium. So it's actually aluminium oxide. Okay? So talking about aluminium, as we know, aluminium is the most abundant metal. So remember, I've showed you the graph before. Iron is the second most abundant metal. Its main ore is bauxite, which is aluminium oxide, and the metal must be extracted by electrolysis. So aluminium metal is extracted by this process. Now, keeping all of this in mind, let's do some questions now. Iron and aluminium are two important metals extracted from their ores on a large scale. In the extraction of iron, three different raw materials, coke. Now, it's not the coke that you're thinking about. It's not Coca-Cola, and it's definitely not cocaine. It is carbon, actually. So coke, iron ore, and limestone are added through the top of a blast furnace. So you have a blast furnace over here. What is the name of the ore of iron which consists of iron 3 oxide? So what is the name of the ore? For iron 3 oxide, as we see over here, the name of it is haematite. Okay, the spelling is quite interesting. Haematite. Question B. Iron is extracted from iron 3 oxide by using carbon monoxide. This is method 2, if you remember. In a blast furnace, describe the main way in which carbon monoxide is produced in the blast furnace. So how is carbon monoxide produced in this case? So for that, you will need to turn to page 9 of your textbook. So extraction of iron, it occurs in a blast furnace. So first of all, what you would do is you would get coke. Again, it's not the coke you're talking about or you're thinking about. It's carbon, and you burn it in hot air so that you get carbon dioxide. And that carbon dioxide would further react with the coke, and then this would form the carbon monoxide. And afterwards, you would get this familiar word equation that I've told you in the previous videos. The haematite would react with the carbon monoxide to get the metal that you wanted and carbon dioxide. Of course, there would be some impurities and the molten iron would flow down with the impurities, and you can remove it by limestone, which forms, there's a name for this, we call it slag. It's a pretty cool name, right? Slag. It's not swag, slag. Okay, let's move on. So describe the main way in which carbon monoxide is produced. So we just mentioned the first two answers over here. So the coke is burned in hot air, and then the coke is burned in hot air to form carbon dioxide, and the carbon dioxide would further react with the coke to form carbon monoxide. Okay? And question 2, write down the word equation for the reduction of iron 3 oxide in the blast furnace. So it's the same word equation that I've shown you earlier. Iron 3 oxide plus carbon monoxide, you get iron and carbon dioxide. Okay, by this video, you should be very familiar with writing down the word equations. Just a reminder, again, you see the word reduction. What does reduction mean? It means removing oxygen. Okay, I mentioned this in the previous video as well. Let's move on. Question C. Aluminium is extracted from its ore by electrolysis. This is a more expensive process than using a blast furnace. So question 1, why is a different method used for aluminium then? I mentioned many times before, it is due to the metal reactivity series. Do you remember the table? Aluminium is a more reactive metal, right? It is a more reactive metal when compared with iron. Hence, what process should be used? Electrolysis. So here's the answer. Aluminium is more reactive than iron. That is why a different method is used. That is it. Question 2. Name the ore from which aluminium is extracted. So I think by now you should be familiar that the questions will be asking you the names of the ores. So you yourself would need to memorize the names of the ores. So for aluminium, let's go back and have a look. The name of its ore is bauxite. So let me go ahead and write that down. The name of the ore is bauxite. 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 Question 3. Suggest why the cost of extracting aluminium is high. In other words, why is electrolysis an expensive process? Obviously, because electrolysis, what is electrolysis actually? Electrolysis is using electricity to separate something, right? To remove or separate something. So why is it costly? It is because there is a high cost of using electricity. All right. So I'll wrap up this video with this question. I'll see you in the next video where we'll talk about how we could conserve and recycle metals. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.